Hi everyone, I'm Shira,
And I'm Shayna.
and we're from How to ABA. And today we thought we would discuss that fourth function of behavior that we all find a little bit challenging to tackle sometimes. And if we're talking about the SEAT acronym, it's the S, the sensory. Now, these are behaviors that are automatically reinforced. They are sensory maintained, which means they just feel good. They're not escape or access or attention or any one of those other functions, but it's really the child is engaging in some sort of problem behavior because it feels good. And now we're not here to say that sensory or stims or automatic reinforcement is good or bad. I think we all engage in our own types of automatic reinforcement, whether that's nail biting, smoking, eating unhealthy foods, any one of those things that we engage in just because it feels good, not because it's good for us and not because it's the right thing to do. And we might also look for some outside help in how to eat healthier or exercise more or stop a bad habit. We're referring to these same types of behaviors in our students where a sensory behavior or an automatically reinforced behavior is becoming problematic, either because it's dangerous to their safety or to someone else's safety, or it's really interfering with the quality of their life. And that is something you would discuss with the client, with the parents, with the team involved as to whether this qualifies as a problem behavior. Be careful that not all sensory behaviors should qualify as problem behaviors, but it really is a cost benefit analysis as to whether this is really interfering. And if it is interfering, then there are some ways that we can tackle that.
So typically there's three ways in which you can tackle automatic reinforcement. The first way is blocking, which really just means don't allow your student to engage in that behavior. So for instance, if your student is flapping his or her arms, you would put his arms down. If your student was, walking on his tippy toes, you would push his shoulders down. I'm not saying whether these are right or wrong approaches. I'm just telling you what those approaches are. So number one would be blocking. Number two would be time and place, right? So yes, you know what, you can do this every so often, or I recognize that you may quote unquote need to do this, but don't do it during my time. Or, you can't do that out in public. You just can't. So here's a time and here's a place. That time and place might need to be a lot at first, and then you can decrease that time interval. It might need to be, over 10 different places, and then you can decrease that to, the student's bedroom and bathroom. So you can play around with that systematically. And then the third,
I can give you a good example of that. You have a student, for example, who would scratch, and he would really like to scratch other people. And you can see why this is problematic. It felt good. There was no other function other than he liked the feeling of, the skin under his nails, and he would go and scratch people. And the problem was that people were bleeding and scarring, and it wasn't effective. So one of the strategies that we used was we would give him things on his desk that felt like things that he wanted to scratch. So whether that was like a board with different Velcros and different types of feelings that he could scratch, and we would redirect him. So we'd block when he would try to scratch someone, an adult or a peer, we'd block that, and then we'd redirect it to a more appropriate place. So when we're referring to time and place, this would be the place part. It's okay to scratch this. It's okay to scratch the Velcro on your desk or other things that are not people. And that was one of our strategies.
Awesome. And you're referring also kind of to the third thing I was about to say, which is replacement behavior, right? So it's not okay to scratch someone else, but here I'm going to replace that behavior with something a little bit more functional. So here's something else that you can scratch that is a bit more functional. Here's an example of my own. I stim in the car. So if I'm stuck in traffic, I flick around the radio stations like crazy. Guess what? I listen to podcasts now, and I can't really flick around podcasts, or I will probably get a ticket for playing on my cell phone. So, that and it's dangerous driving. So my replacement behavior for flicking around the radio, which really wasn't a danger to anybody anyway, but it bothered me, was listening to podcasts instead. So those would be the three, would be number one, blocking, number two, time and place, and number three, replacement. And as I'm saying, number three, replacement, number three should actually be number one, number one, number one with any type of behavior that you want to decrease. You absolutely need to teach replacement behavior.